everybody, and welcome to Security Speaking, an SSI podcast. I'm today's host, Web/Senior Editor Steve Caranzalidis. Ahead, you're going to hear me speak with North Carolina-based integrator Mad Dog Security, where we'll discuss what it's like being a subsidiary of an AV company, the importance of RMR, unique recruiting strategies, and much more.
Our guests for today are managing partner Mark DiPietro. How you doing, Mark?
Doing great, Steve. Looking forward to it.
Great. We also have Marketing Director Michelle Ferlato. How are you, Michelle?
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right. And last but not least, we have Service Manager Mike O'Dowd. How's it going, Mike?
Doing great. Good to be here.
All right. Thanks for the time, guys. Let's dive on in. So, Mad Dog Security, talk to me a little bit about the history of the company, how it was founded. Give me the how, when, where, and why.
So, I guess kind of an interesting story. I had a company previously, and in that particular company back in the early 2000s, before the last crash, my partner at the time used to just call me Mad Dog, and he had said, you know what, that should be our security name. Well, we didn't do it with that company, but in the second iteration back in 2010 when we started back up, that's where the name came from. We also had found that the kind of the dog symbol, growling dog, went well for the yard signs. So gave a little bit more of a security type feel, if you will.
Mad Dog is actually a spin-off of an AV company, right?
Exactly correct. Yeah. So I manage Sound Vision. And we started back in August of 2010, and Mad Dog Security is the security arm of Sound Vision. I'm sure we'll get into how and why we did it that way, because there is a pretty interesting story to that, although it's got a little bit of back content to it. So, yes, it is the security arm for our audio, video, and automation company.
So why don't you go ahead? Let's dive on in there. What made you guys want to branch off into security, and what kind of challenges did you encounter in the process, and how did you tackle them?
Well, this goes back a good ways. So I've been in the industry since 1986 in some form or fashion since I got out of high school, and when many different iterations, I was a rep and all kinds of different things, but when I settled back in North Carolina, I went to work for a national builder, and I was a sales rep for a national builder. And we started doing audio video inside when they were building models. And at the time, we started picking up a lot of work, and the builder was like, hey, we've got a security contractor that's kind of not cutting the mustard, and so would you want to do that? I said, sure. I don't know what's involved in doing that, but okay. This is around 98, 99. Went out on my own from that builder and started my original company, which was Custom Home Integrations, which fast forward to 2008 when the first crash happened, and I went through a lot of personal turmoil. I went through losing the business for all kinds of different things. I don't know if you want to go in depth into that, we can, but whatnot. One of the things that I found out at the time was the value of the contracts, the security contracts. And so I went to sell those to a company out of California to get dollars to basically get myself out of debt from the other business. And when I did that, I realized how challenging that was, because the contracts were baked into that business. So as opposed to having an independent company that you could spin off, or you could do whatever you wished with that company, it was very, very challenging. It worked out, but it wasn't without a tremendous amount of pain. So as far as why and how, it was really because this national builder needed a partner that was reliable. And so that's where it started. And then over the next couple of years, or the last couple of years, we've been more exclusively dealing with larger residences, larger commercial facilities. So while we don't do a ton in raw numbers, our clients are, I guess, I don't know, pretty on a kind of on a larger scale, high net worth folks, famous people, large businesses, that kind of stuff.
So you guys are a mix of both commercial and residential security?
We are. Now, we don't do fire alarms. Ours is only burglar. But we do have a mixture of commercial. We do a number of car washes, for example. We do a national trucking company. We have some various commercial places that we work in. And then again, the lion's share of it is larger residential residences and that kind of thing.
Cool. And what year was Mad Dog founded?
August of 2010.
And how many employees did you guys start off with?
Me. It was actually me and one other gentleman that didn't work for me. We had partnered for years. He had actually worked for me in my old business, and so we kind of branched out on our own for a little while. And then Mike, our service manager, came along. Mike, when did you come back?
I joined in 2013 as a subcontractor.
Okay, so it was a little.
Yeah,
so it was a little longer than I thought, but.
Yeah.
What has company growth been like over that time?
It's been tremendous. Now, as far as security, again, from a percentage standpoint, year over year, we're in the multi-100% growth, but the sheer numbers aren't that large. But if you look at it as a whole and you commingle that with Sound Vision, it's been a kind of a stratospheric rise as far as both dollars revenue and then also employees. We're up to 18 folks. We hired 2 people the other day, so we're at 18 folks from just me and one other guy back then. Yes, it's been grown pretty aggressively with a pretty strong growth plan going forward over the next few years as well.
That's great. Can you discuss that growth plan a little bit?
Yes, I can. So we have a goal for 9 years from now to reach the $10 million plateau. We are on pace to do that. We've just signed and closed on an experience center facility that we should be in and demonstrating not only kind of the newer security offerings, but also all the AV lighting design, shades, that sort of thing. Should be in there in the second quarter of this year. We've segregated all of our jobs, so we're a little bit. I shouldn't say we're unique, because we're not unique, but we have dedicated folks in each role. Meaning, we have guys that are just design and sales. We have a service team, dedicated service team. We have dedicated operations. We have our technicians are just technicians. They don't run service as well. They're almost exclusively, as well as we have a financial arm as well. So we've structured it in such a way that we can scale both independently for our own, and we also have documentation processes on all those things, so that we have the opportunity potentially to scale, whether that's with an influx of capital from somebody like an angel investor or VC or whatever, or whether that's something that we think to franchise down the road or something. We're trying to create different ways to grow a scalable and sustainable business, and that target again is in that 9-year window.
Now, going back to recruiting talent, so obviously that's a major challenge in the security industry. How have you guys addressed that area?
I can go on about that. Michelle, who's on the call, has done a tremendous job in recruiting talent from a bunch of different ways. Some are conventional, some are a little bit unconventional. Michelle, would you like to jump in and talk about that?
Sure. So we approach procuring talent in many different ways. We have in the past offered an internal referral program for our team to bring on new talent and be incentivized to do so. If they know somebody who is looking for work and it turns into a successful hire, then we incentivize them to do that. Other methods we use are, online job placement services that are, national companies. We've also done some work through the chamber. We're on their jobs website as well. And a lot of who in the industry already, recruiting from our local vendors who see the technicians come in all the time, and it's a little bit unorthodox to ask them if anybody's looking, but we've offered to incentivize them as well if it does turn into a successful hire. Some of the positive results we've had is we had 2 employees come on from another company, not at the same time, but one after the other, and they have remained in place, for quite a bit. I want to say 2 years now. We have some other team members that know each other, and so the relationships are already there and established. It makes it for an easier transition. And as far as training goes, it's easier for them to almost get a grip on what they're doing when they are being trained by somebody that they know and is familiar with, and there's not that additional social roadblock that they have to get through to feel comfortable. It's easier to mentor somebody that you know, and we're constantly looking for new talent. And I'm shameless, if somebody comes into the office to do a service appointment here, and they are a pretty decent service technician, I've done this as well, I will pretty much spot interview them without them really understanding what I'm doing, and then give them my card and tell them, if they're ever looking, to give me a call. And I've certainly made some contacts that way. It's been successful. If I'm out and about and I see somebody who just kind of demonstrates really good customer service or seems like they would be a good culture fit for us, I'll give them my card and follow up. And we actually recently did that with one of our newest designers that we brought on. So talent is where we can find it, and we're definitely looking for more than just the technical skill set. We're also looking for a culture fit, which is extremely important to us.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Michelle, there at the end, because that was the unconventional thing I was referring to, Steve. I learned this years ago when I was actually working for the home builder. Our sales manager had gone to like a nice steakhouse, and the server at the steakhouse did a great job, and he ended up hiring her, and she was a great new home salesperson. And so I learned from that just keeping everybody uses ZipRecruiter and Indeed, and going to you're obviously poaching from a competitor or whatever. But the unconventional way is just, hey, if you're out and about, and you're buying furniture, or you're whatever at a restaurant, or like Michelle said, if someone actually comes to you, we've not tried, especially with technicians, we haven't tried to pigeonhole only security or audio video technicians. We said, hey, who's good with their hands? Who likes, who's good in front of people? We could train them if they're trainable. So that's what we've been doing. Right.
Yeah, definitely. In an industry like this where it's so hard to find talent, you definitely need to get creative, and that sounds like what you guys are doing. You've found success. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So, before we move on to more product-based and kind of generic questions, can you talk a little bit more about, when it comes to what sets you apart from competitors? Obviously, sound vision gives you a big advantage. How do you use, how do you use sound vision to help or promote Mad Dog? Because you go in for a security job and someone says, I just want your basic alarm system. How do you upsell them to, oh, well, we also do AV, or vice versa when you go in for an AV job and try to sell security?
That's pretty easy. The big thing that we have found over the years is that one-stop shop mentality, one phone call. So if somebody is only searching for one of those things, whether it's just a security system, we're not banging doors and doing, door hanger kind of things. That's not our model. Same with AV. If somebody just wants to hang a television, for example, that's not our model. And so we do say no to projects. And I know some of your questions were, give us a garden variety project and that sort of thing. So we'll get to that. But we're looking for projects where we're selling multiple disciplines, if you will. A security system with an audio video system is an easy one to kind of do. But we do a lot of automation too. And so leveraging the power of the automation, hey, when a door opens, do this, or hey, when you walk in a room, use the motion detector to do this, that kind of thing. That's really our niche. That's our market. So if it's one discipline, we don't really. It's not as big a thing. When it's multiple, that's where we get involved.
If I could chime in, part of what makes us a little bit different than our competitors is that Sound Vision has a dedicated service department that Mike O'Dowd runs for us, and he does an amazing job. And, in part to his credit, he's done so well with it that when we are sending out marketing efforts for service for annual service, tune-ups or what have you, customers don't always know, that we offer security products, or he may be going out on a security service call and he's able to turn those service calls into sales opportunities, and it has definitely made a difference in us being able to integrate the two together.
So, look, we can't go on any further before we need to address the sort of elephant in the room. We're in the middle of a pandemic, so can you talk a little bit about how COVID-19 has impacted Mad Dog, its personnel and customers, what types of challenges you guys are facing, and how you're trying to overcome all of this?
So, it clearly was back in March and April of last year. It's last year now, by the way. Thankfully, it was. There was a lot of apprehension. There was a lot of fear. We didn't know. Nobody even knew what being deemed essential meant. Like, no one had ever heard of that before. And so we were very unsure at the time. And so we took some steps back then. One of the things, having gone through the 2008 to 2010 crash, that I learned was to be more prepared, both financially and with a plan. And so this time we did. I'm also in a group of like-minded integrators across the country. We've been together for like 4 years, and we meet virtually every month, and we talk about different strategies and things. So we kind of together came up with some early plans before, again, all the known things now even existed. Knock on wood, and I guess fortunate for our industry, we were deemed essential, and with offerings like security devices or security systems, network systems, video conferencing, Zoom, all that sort of thing, we actually grew a pretty good bit. It turned out to be, from a business standpoint, a very strong year, because the things that we were offering, the businesses that we were in, are all of a sudden even heightened from what they were pre-COVID. Our teams clearly adhere to all the guidelines that are out there. I mean, when you walk into our facility, the very first thing that we do, we have the temperature check, and we have the sign-in sheet that has all the relevant questions that you need to do. All the guys wear masks and booties inside of facilities or homes. They carry with them little belt clips with hand sanitizers, with extra on all the vans. So we're taking the precautions that are required and that are necessary. And while it was different, and it was certainly a challenge internally in the beginning, now it's just kind of become commonplace, and hopefully it doesn't last for much longer. But we're comfortable with what they are now, and the guys are making sure that they're not only keeping the customer safe, but keeping themselves safe as well.
Yeah, something it seems like a lot of integrators are saying is they're actually surprised by how few customers they lost, or they're surprised by how successful they've been this year. Did you have any issues with customers that said they couldn't afford their security anymore, or did you have to do anything? Did you come up with any like special payment plans or anything like that?
Well, actually, the interesting thing I mentioned earlier, that when you were talking about commercial and residential customers, I said we do a national trucking company, and we've done numerous projects with them over the years. And they were the one customer that cut all spending like immediately. We had about $10,000, $12,000 job, and they got cut. We're doing that job next week, so it's kind of interesting. Or this week. So that actually came back. Believe it or not, the larger challenge, to answer your question directly, we have not had to do anything special by way of financing, or we certainly have had to shuffle scheduling, but the bigger challenge has actually been product availability. Believe it or not, it's been, being able to get product. We've shuffled more of our schedule because of that than we have because of customer concerns or customers pulling out or anything like on that. I mean, I'm not saying we haven't lost any, but it's far and away more when can we get product to do the jobs than it is customer fears.
Right. So speaking of products, let's delve on into Mad Dog's offerings. Talk a little bit about vendor relationships and what's important to you when considering a supplier?
Our suppliers, I would say that our relationships with all of our vendors are excellent. Knock on wood, we pay our bills on time, which is, I'm sure, their number one thing. But but maybe just behind that is we really value our relationships with our vendors. We talk a lot about inside that we want to be a value add to them too. So if they have something that they want to beta test, we're there. If we're in Charlotte or just north of Charlotte in Mooresville, Lake Norman area, and so we're very near Snap AV, and they had an issue one time with a network switch and Dish Network. And I had the network switch and Dish Network in my house, so I had two engineers come up to my house in my kitchen, and they're like, doing the test work. So we try to go very deep with our suppliers and not so wide, so that we're valuable to them. But we also try to provide that value out of, hey, if we can do something for you, if you want to send a guy here and we go in the field and test something out, no problem. We've done that in the past in a lot of instances.
Nice. So, recurring revenue is so important in the security industry, and especially in times like this when there's a pandemic going on. So what role does RMR play with your company?
It's like one of my buzzwords. What doesn't it play in our company is probably more appropriate. So RMR is enormous in our world. And we have goals that are structured around exclusively RMR. Michelle, so we have two primary methods of RMR. Obviously, there's security monitoring. That's number one. And then number two is our service memberships that we sell. And Michelle was alluding to Mike and his team, of our service team, and that we actually run a profit and loss specifically on service. And they have been profitable every quarter that we've had them on their own, and that is based on revenue they generate in RMR. So we are constantly spiffing our guys for selling either a security monitoring contract or a service membership. We are constantly going through those and trying to figure out what can we add, what more can we do to make those more valuable. So they're not only generating revenue for us, obviously, but they're also limiting attrition and getting more of a kind of a sticky touch with the customer so that there's value on their end. Kind of think of, if you're familiar with, or your readers are familiar with Nest, and you get the Nest report every month in your email, we're trying to do the same thing. So one of the things we do specific to security, Mike and Paul, our service folks, every morning get our monitoring reports, 5:07 in the morning, and they go through every single one of them every day. And if there is a customer, if there's, the Jones let the dog out at 2 in the morning, and the alarm, well, of course we don't know they let the dog out, but the alarm went off, then we'll send a proactive email that says, hey, it's like your security went off last night. Is everything okay? Anything we can do on our end? Just wanted to let you know we're following up just to make sure everything's all right. And we do that in a couple different areas that are associated with RMR, but from a security standpoint, that one stands out.
And these days DIY, it's such a fast rising area. Do you guys offer any DIY products or do-it-for-me offerings?
Not in the security side. Now we are Google Nest dealers, so by definition you have Google Home, you've got their network, their mesh network system. You've got the Nest thermostats, which I would probably not put in the DIY category, although I think Nest would. But that's a little scary, installing your own thermostat and what problems could arise from doing that. The Nest Hellos, that sort of thing. So we do sell those products. We don't retail sell those products on their own, like you would if you went to a home improvement store. But we do sell them as part of incorporated systems, yes.
So kind of some more general questions about the industry. What do you see as some of the top technology-based opportunities today, and what are some ways that integrators can sell those technologies?
Top technologies. I guess everything's moving so fast. I don't know if this is the best answer, but I think that the top thing that I would say would be networks. Clearly everybody in our industry knows that everything rides on the network, and the quality of the network is absolutely critical. If you're talking about security, that's both the network and the Wi-Fi. It's also the cellular network that you might have your digital communicator, talking on. But that backbone has gotten so crazy important, whether that's television, whether that's automation, whether that's security. And then on top of that, you've got the added complexity that cybersecurity comes into play. If you've got cameras or anything, frankly, just your computer data. So I would say that's the most meat and potatoes one. Now, if you're talking about like just cool stuff, I mean, there's so many cool things. Whether it's we've done a room recently where we did kind of 2 projectors with golf simulator and theaters. We've done all kinds of motorized TVs out by pools, and just there's so many cool things out there that really just take what we do on a baseline, installing a TV, for example, and taking it to the next level. The way automation now can work, both on a DIY level and on a pro level, is incredible. I mean, in my home, voice control, and not even better than voice control, no control. You walk in a room and you've got your motion detector, or you open a door and your door contact is creating an entire series of events. It's not just turning on one light or turning on music, but it's doing all kinds of things based on the way you live. And that's the thing that jazzes me the most about what we do. And security is clearly the backbone of that.
Well said. So when it comes to retaining customers, give me your 3 golden rules.
So our golden rules, one is the golden rule. We have that as a definite way that we run our business. So whatever we tell people we're going to do, we do everything breaking our back to do it. The second one would be being proactive and not reactive. So we haven't spent a ton of time on service, and that's going to be the third one, by the way. But again, things like when a security system has been triggered overnight, or if there's a late to test, we're on that. Like the next day, as soon as we get the report, we're on it. We do the same thing with folks' networks. We do the same thing we monitor a lot of different services in folks' homes. And so that is being proactive for them. We even go as far as to, in a number of our customers' homes, let's say they have Time Warner Cable or Spectrum now, we'll be on their account. So if there's an issue, they don't even have to call in. We can do it for them. So we're very proactive for our customers. And then third, and I don't want to call it the biggest. I think they're all equal. Third is service. A few years ago, probably 5 years ago, the buzzword was make things simpler. And how am I going to get serviced after we're done with all this? And so we really took those things to heart. We had focus group meetings with some of our key customers, learned what do they really want, and we provided and produced the service memberships where we provide same and next day service for our customers that pay for those memberships. It comes at a cost, but we can literally guarantee same or next day cover. Same or next day, we respond to all service calls within an hour. So we're right on it. We recognize that as a huge buzzword. We just had a customer that we lost a $150,000 job 3 days ago, and we've had him. We're still servicing his other house, by the way. And he called and he said, "What do I have to do to get you to service this new house? Because the guy that I selected isn't doing it." And he literally called. He actually emailed Mike the other day, and we had to have a meeting. Like, do we actually want to service him? Because he knows the way that we respond, because we're doing his other house and his business. So those are the 3 things. The golden rule: we do what we say. We're proactive, and our service.
Well said. So I think the only way to wrap this up is to ask, and I'd like to hear from all 3 of you. What do you anticipate for the security industry in 2021, this upcoming year?
I think it's really going through a change. I think the DIY security offerings are gonna, and I'll use the buzzword nowadays, it's gonna be a disruptor in the industry. I think that's a good thing, because I think anything that brings that brings the industry to the forefront and gets it in people's mind is good. I also think that in our little world, that the ability to leverage security to do more with it, where it's not just a security system standalone, but yet it can interface with your thermostat and with your audio video system and with your voice control and all that kind of stuff is where the future is. I'm sure the larger companies are going to just plug along, and they're going to, pop in security systems in all the townhomes everywhere. But that's where I think that the change is going to come in the next year or two.
And I'm going to have to speak for, I can't speak for Michelle because she had to leave. She had another appointment. But this is Mike, and I wanted to say that I think one of the things we're going to see more of is remote serviceability. It's something we've been working on with our AV side and our network side, but we think the opportunity to not have to go to somebody's house because of things like pandemics are going to increase. We've had a little bit of that, but with, having to go to somebody's house but not going in, or, segregating us from the family. But just being able to resolve basic problems from here, we're already doing a lot of it, but I see it being more effective and more valuable in the coming year.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, as our time comes to a close, Mark, Mike, is there anything else about Mad Dog you wanted to bring up?
I just appreciate the opportunity of being in this forum. This is really exciting, and I appreciate you, Steve, and having us on. And if we could ever help anybody in your audience, if they want more information or if they care to contact us and ask us how we do something, we're very much open to helping anybody. So they're welcome to visit our website, svavnc.com. Email us
All right.
dogsecurity@svavnc.com.
We appreciate your interest and encourage you to subscribe to Security Sales and Integration and its newsletters. Regularly visit securitysales.com for the latest news and follow SSI on social media.